Bonsoir à tous, hello everybody, bonsoir, j'espère que vous allez bien, que vous avez passé une bonne journée. On se retrouve pour l'interview EURÉKA comme tous les mercredis à 18h. On a eu plein d'invités super intéressants. Ce soir, ça va se passer en anglais, ce sera avec Samaria Torres qui est certifiée en PNL, en hypnose, qui fait du coaching et qui va nous parler de ses breakthrough sessions. Et j'adore ce mot breakthrough, je ne sais pas si vous en avez déjà entendu parler, mais en anglais c'est une percée. Vous avez découvert quelque chose, vous avez peut-être, ça fait bien la connexion avec EURÉKA quand vous avez une idée. Et du coup, on va accueillir tout de suite Samaria. Je vais baisser un petit peu le son de l'intro. Et voici. Alors, Samaria, elle va arriver d'ici quelques secondes. Je l'avais juste ici. Hello Samaria, how are you doing?
Hello, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Well, you're in Amsterdam right now. You're living in Amsterdam?
I live in Amsterdam, indeed, and yeah, in my house. So welcome, everyone.
Yeah, we're going digital, full digital during this COVID crisis. So I think we're adapting and we are finding new ways to communicate. So very happy to welcome you on this show and this interview. And of course, it's like a discussion. We'll talk about your breakthrough sessions. And I was just saying, I love that word and also in English and how you can achieve a breakthrough, or I don't know. I will ask you all these questions afterwards. Of course, if you have some questions in the chat, feel free to just go for it. And if it's in French or if you want me to translate something, just let me know, and we'll try to make it very simple. Thank you again, Samaria. Can you tell us a
Pleasure.
little bit about you and about your journey?
Yes. Well, for those of you that don't know me yet, I'm Samaria, and I was born in Mexico. So I was a Mexican from origin, grew up in the States, and then I've lived in France as well, Spain, and now I live in the Netherlands. And this whole journey in personal development really started for me, I must say, in the Netherlands, because one morning I just woke up and I could not move my arms. So they were completely paralyzed and I had a burnout, right? And it was at those moments of crisis that most of us wait to take action in our lives. And I did that. I waited till the extreme. I was ignoring the mind-body connection. I didn't listen to my body anymore. I was very busy with setting my goals and just thinking from my head. So that moment when I woke up and I couldn't move my arms, that's when I knew I had to change something, right? And of course, my breakthrough didn't come at that moment. It was more like, okay, what do I need to do? And it was a moment of pause. And sometimes we need this moment of pauses in our lives. Unfortunately, most of us wait till the end, till, like me, till I get a burnout, or when you get really sick or you get fired from your job to take action. So these led me to a lot of self-discovery disciplines. So a lot of meditation. I wanted to get my mind-body connection back again. A lot of yoga, but also I wanted to become conscious of myself. And that's when I really learned that, for me at least, all the change really happens within. And I was somebody that was very busy with the external world. So what people thought about me, what career I was doing, I was looking for love, let's say, exteriorly. So when I started to go internal, it was a very interesting journey because we get confronted with positive emotions, but also negative emotions, right? And I think all of us have had a moment in our lives where we are afraid to feel something, right? We're afraid to feel sad. We're afraid to feel alone. We don't want to feel all these, maybe anxiety or stress, right? All these negative emotions. And our human brain is really made to avoid those emotions, right? We are meant to survive. And a lot of us are in the survival mode. However, this 2020, we are not getting chased by a lion. So we don't need to survive in this way. We have a lot of, the technology. Right now, I'm talking to you through internet. We have a lot of things available for us where we can really take the time to start working on ourselves and break through our old patterns, our old way of thinking. Thoughts are so powerful. They have such an influence on our body. And I was just completely oblivious to all this. I was in my own little bubble. I was following what I thought I had to follow according to society, to the values that I got from my culture, from my family, from what I saw outside of me. So it was really, for me, a moment of really connecting with myself. And I went through also a breakthrough session. So I am qualified in all these disciplines that I teach my clients. And I was first the guinea pig, and they work because I got over my burnout very fast. And the one thing that I love about this breakthrough sessions, you know this already, Jeremy, I work a lot with the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, it's just absolutely amazing. It's so powerful. And I remember, like, I started when I was in so much pain for so many years, and I tried everything, right? I went to therapy, and I remember there where we go back to relive the past and go back to all these emotions and talk about it. And that's good to talk about it. However, at what moment it wasn't working for me. And it was when I discovered these tools that I now teach my clients that it was like magic. Because the unconscious mind, it is so powerful, and it's like anything. You can use it to make your life amazing, or it's always what you're looking at, right? Are you looking at the glass half full or half empty? And I think most of us are so oblivious of ourselves in a way that we are just following without having direction in our life. Right? And a lot of my clients have come to me and they're like, well, I've gone through this job and this job and this job, and now I'm here in my life. I've never chosen for this. Like, I've just followed with the wind, like a leaf, right? This is because we're not aware of what we want to go to. Because nobody really teaches us, right? I work a lot with the emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
and that's an intelligence that, I've been through so many universities throughout the world. I've studied so many different disciplines academically. Nobody ever taught me about, hey, how do I deal with my emotions? How do I really ask myself, what is it that I really want? And who am I doing this for? Am I doing it for myself? Or am I doing it to make my family happy? Or to make the society happy? Because I have to fulfill these needs that we think we need to be happy, right? So for me, it was I'm very grateful I went to the extreme. I would never wish anybody to get a burnout or to get as far as I did in order to change their lives. This is why I've made my mission in life to talk about emotional intelligence, talk about how we can break through our old patterns of thinking, behavioral patterns, and really go for what we want. So in a nutshell, that's a little bit the breakthrough session. And it's just really, of course, we'll get more in depth as the interview goes along.
Yeah.
But it's just really amazing. And the breakthrough session, how I do it is it's a coaching session, right? It's a 1 day intense coaching session. And what I love about this session is that it's very private. So I remember when I was in therapy, and you have to go and you have to talk and talk and talk. And sometimes I didn't want to go back and talk about something that was painful, right? Because I didn't want to relive that again. And the concept that I use in my coaching techniques is that if you've been through something in your life that was not so pleasant, once is more than enough. there's no reason to relive it and relive it and relive it, right? So the nice thing about the breakthrough sessions is that it's very private. So I guide you, and it's here. So my clients just pretty much stay in their head. Of course, we talk. I need to know a little bit about it, right? So we dip into the past, but it's very, very private, because I don't need to know what happened. And then you go and then you just do it yourself, because I guide you through it. I love that. And it's just so powerful. And, if I knew this existed when I got my burnout, I would have done it immediately, because it's fast and it's
Yeah,
very efficient.
I think that's why also I'm making this Magicien de la communication and these interviews is really to make people aware of the fact that our communication matters and that our thoughts matters, because it's the way we communicate with ourselves. And the magic of it is that you can change the way you live by changing your communication. And I was a little bit distracted as well, because just you have a hi from Eike and from Erin as well, Erin Colligan. So thank you guys for the follow, and thank you for being here. Really cool. And so we're talking with Samaria about how to change, and the thing that I like in the breakthrough world is that it means that it can be done fast. How do you think someone can change? It can be done fast. How long?
Well, for me, when I do a breakthrough session, it's always we always do like an intake, right? So I need to know, can I work with you? Because, like, look, I am. There's certain things that therapists need to take care of, and psychiatrists. I am a coach, and I'm also very honest. I think that's very important. I know what I know. I know what I'm good at, and I know when I can help you. Being honest. I mean, being honest with yourself. That's where you should always start, and also being honest with my clients. So I always do a session, a one-to-one session in the beginning, to see. First of all, the most important question, I think, is, do you really want to change? I think that's essential. The moment that we are in life, and sometimes the emotional pain really needs to get aching in order for us to want to change. It's very normal. Why? Because a lot of us, we like to live in the comfort zone, right? So the comfort zone, it's warm, we know it. And sometimes the comfort zone is a comfort zone that we think it's comfortable, but not always is it productive, and not always is it something that we are getting something positive out of it, right? Because a lot of times we learn from our parents, we learn from generations and generations. And when we look at a child, a child gets a conscious mind until around the age of 6 or 7. So before that, we all were sponges. So we absorb everything from our environment, right? And unfortunately, a lot of the people live in anger, fear, and anxiety, right? In sadness. And it's like this roundabout that we go through. So we get the fear and the anxiety from our grandmothers, our parents, etc. And then that's our basis. So it's not a very wonderful basis when you think about it, right? Then around 6 or 7, we get a conscious mind, and then we go through life, and life happens. And as you and me, we know this. I mean, life is not this pink life full of unicorns and rainbows. Life is life. It has its lows and its highs, right? And then we get experiences. We might get our heart broken, or our parents might get divorced, or something might happen in our lives where we create what we call limiting decisions, right? There are limiting decisions that they are very, very subconscious. And this affects everything in our life. I see a little cat. So these limiting decisions.
Surprise guests.
Perfect. I love it. These limiting decisions are going to affect everything in our lives. Most of us, we tend to separate our head and our body, right? The mind-body connection. However, we are one. So that has an influence. And then imagine if this beginning, this structure, right, is based on anxiety, fear, sadness, guilt, and then all the things that happen in life. our brain is full of maybe fear or something. So a lot of us do not dare to do something or change our lives because we might not know why. It's very unconscious, because we're like, oh no, this I know, this is safe, but it might be really not the most comfortable, not the most safe place in a way, right? So for example, I can only speak really good about myself, so I'll put myself a lot as an example.
That's what you're here for.
Come from a
That's why,
family.
yeah, of course.
Sorry?
That's what you're here for, and it's awesome. Thank you. So yeah, go
I
for
mean,
it.
I have also a lot of clients that went through this, but it's always my experience because I've lived through my own experience, right? I come from a family that has a very high IQ and a very low emotional EQ, right? So everybody, doctors and engineers, say that, and I love them all. I love them to death. And the thing is that I never learned how to deal with my emotions, right? So for me, I grew up my first 6 years in Mexico, and you get this image of how you should be, right? However, look, my father, he's a doctor, and my biological father is a doctor, but he was also an alcoholic, right? So I grew up in a very unsafe environment. And sometimes my mom was not there because she was going to the States, etc. So I learned for me that I didn't know how to cope with my emotions, right? So we call that, it wasn't a safe attachment, right? The attachment theory, it's another topic that I love talking about, but very interesting. So when I was young, I didn't know how to cope with my emotions. Then I moved to the States quite young. My whole environment changed. So I didn't know, for example, even how to cry, right? I thought crying was a sign of weakness. And then I did a lot of martial arts. So I also repressed my emotions to cry. Interestingly enough, when people would look at me, I mean, I am Mexican, I am Latin American, right? It would stereotype me. They would put me in a stereotype, like this drama, whatever. Quite the contrary. For me, it took me a long time to allow that idea of crying is okay. So this limiting decision that I told myself, if I cry, then I'm weak. I don't know what year, how old I was when I said that to myself, but that really, really did not help me, because what happened is that as I was going through life happened, and then I was building up stress, building up stress, building up stress, to a point where I had my burnout, right? That was with all the emotions. So the point here is that when we did the limiting decision, the breakthrough session, I thought, oh, maybe the reason why I want to be so tough is because of this. And when we did my own breakthrough session, it was completely different. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to influence people in thinking what it is, because we all have our own limiting decision and it's very personal. However, in my experience, they're all very much the same. So in other words, is I'm not good enough, I'm invisible, I don't exist. These things that are very rooted from our youth, and that influences everything. So going back to your question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Going back to your question.
Sorry.
If we get this structure, this foundation as a child, and we carry that through life, right? I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not something enough, and we all tend to have these limited decisions. We are the only ones in our own way. I mean, perfect example is The Lion King, right? You see The Lion King and you see like this little lion and he becomes a great lion. And he still thinks, he doesn't see himself as a lion, right? He's eating little bugs. Right? And I think a lot of us, we have so much potential within us, yet we are so afraid you don't dare to take that step. No. And it's because deep down, it's that limiting decision.
All right.
So we get to a point where like, okay, we need to change.
Okay, I would just wanted to say that Aika was asking, which is a really interesting question. Like, I'm just wondering, how can you prevent falling back into them after the breakthrough session, back into your old habits?
Super question. Wonderful question. What you do is that we have to remember that our brain is like this amazing computer, right? So all of us had, maybe all of us, had a moment in life or when our computer is full, right? So our computer is full, and most of the stuff that we have there are cookies or programs that we don't need or stuff that is just taking up space. Our unconscious mind is the same way. But what we do is that we store a lot of things, a lot of things. So let's say that we had this a battery, something happened to us, right? This is what we think it is. However, in our mind, we make it bigger, then bigger. I can't put more stuff in my hand. We make it huge. It's just taking up space. What we do with a breakthrough session is that we, in a way, rid of all the stuff that you don't need. We hold on to the positive learnings of that experience. And we neutralize what we call the negative emotions, especially sadness, anger, guilt, hurt. There's another one. And then more that would come up. But those are the basic ones. We neutralize them. And what happens is that when we find the limiting decision, for example, I am not good enough or something, we turn it around. And then instead of being a limiting decision, it becomes an empowering phrase, right? So it's amazing. And going back to Heike's question is that think about your computer, right? When you delete all your cookies or the stuff that you don't need, you can't go back to it. They're just not there anymore, right? So it's amazing. Like, I will give you another recent example. This was, I think, 2 years ago. I was in this group with a lot of people with making their business, etc. It was in the States. And we had to introduce ourselves and we had to do a video. And I am perfectly fine of like speaking in front of a group, but I don't know why I could not turn on the camera and just live on Facebook. And I was putting it away for like months and months and months. And I knew like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And I couldn't figure out why. And I was doing a lot of techniques on myself and still. So I called a friend of mine because not many people do breakthrough sessions the way that I do them. And I said, look, can you help me out? Right. So he did it. And it was very fast. Bum, bum, bum. Next morning, I got on it. I don't remember what it was that I was holding me back because we erased that. We turned it around. Even if you would ask me, Samaria, what was it? I can't tell you because it's gone, right? So you don't go back there. And I remember the next morning, I turned on my camera. I was like, live. And of course, I was still a little bit nervous, of course, but it didn't matter. I did it. And I think I spoke for 15 minutes. And I was like, up. So when we do a breakthrough session, we are literally reprogramming or getting rid of the stuff that you don't need. And then we are putting stuff that's going to really make you go forward, really empower you, and really go through the challenges that you put there yourself.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah, very good. I wanted to add as well because I have so many things about it to say as well. But you let me know if you agree with me. But I will say that it's the way all the little phrase you were saying that from your past is of course influencing you, and sometimes you don't see how much it's influencing you, and you still have them going on in your head. And if you change these sentences, then you will change what happens. You will change your behavior. This is the magic of the communication, the power of it. And I would say that if you think that you fall back into it, it means that you haven't found what was the purpose of it. And that means that you already know that you're going to fall back into it, which means what you were saying, like
exactly.
erasing why you will fall back into it. That means you haven't replaced it by what you need or what you really want, which is something you still need to look for, and which is something that will not erase but actually change the way you see it, and so make you do something else.
Definitely. And that's the thing, you put it really well, Jeremy. You have to look at it like an iceberg, right? So Therapy, because therapy, we stay in our conscious mind. It really focuses on the top of the iceberg, right? What we see, more or less. A lot of coaches stay there. And with the breakthrough sessions that I do, I really go in the unconscious mind, right? And there's this, so the breakthrough session, the long part is one day. And then after that, we do a couple of follow-up sessions, right? And there's this one part where a lot of my clients, oh, they don't like it. Why? Because like I'm looking for that, right? So I'm looking for questions to really figure out what the unconscious limiting decision is. And because our brains are made to survive, they're not gonna bring us to something that, oh, I'm not good enough or something, or I don't deserve it. And when you hit it, you hit it because it just comes up. You're not thinking, and that's key. You're not thinking about it because thinking is you're back in your conscious mind.
And
So you really have to.
I really like the metaphor with the computer, because actually what you were saying and what I like is your brain is so smart as well, that when you put a new program in it that fits with him, it will do it right away. And that's the beauty of it, and that's what the breakthrough is. Like, the change can happen in an instant if you have the right key. And some people are better than others at finding the right key and at guiding you finding it, because you already have the answer usually. And if somebody gives you the answer right away, like you should do this, then you will not take it, because it will not come from within. So that's why I think also coaching and asking the right questions, finding the right words to interact with the person, can unlock so many
Yeah.
things, and give a breakthrough, of course.
Definitely. And even to take it another step further, I mean, look at epigenetics, right? It's you can see how just by the words we use that has influence on our genes. So when we think about it, our unconscious mind is our best friend. Yet we don't know how to use it. Most of us are never learned this. I didn't learn this in the university. And once you learn it, it's very important to learn how to speak to it. So for example, one of the things that I do want to say about the unconscious mind that is key, that the unconscious mind does not process negatives, right? So a lot of people go through life saying, I've done all this, I've gone through this with therapy, and I've read all the self-development books. Like, why do I keep coming to the same thing over and over? Why do I keep getting the same partner? Or why does the same thing happen in my professional life or health or finances? It's because this is the key. So when we do a breakthrough session, one of the things that I really look at, it's values, right? So I look at the wheel of life, and I kind of take life apart. So we look at your professional life, your personal life, your relationships, your health, and so on. And then I look at the values. And most of us, we haven't sat down and taken the time to see, what I'm actually looking for in a relationship or in a job, right? We just kind of go with the flow. Now, here is the key. Once you find your values, I always use the metaphor of highway. Okay, now we have a highway. Let's pretend the highway is from Paris to Amsterdam, right? And took us all this time to find the highway. Your value is great. Your end destination, you want the end destination to be Amsterdam. Now, you're on this highway. Are you going towards Paris or Amsterdam? So you're in your car, and then you come there like, oh, again, the Arc de Triomphe. Oh, the Eiffel Tower. What am I doing wrong, right? Essential is, once you find the values, is are you going towards your values or away from your values? And this is why that limiting decision is so crucial to find, because most of us, we're going away from our values because we have this thing that I'm not something enough. So once we turn that around, it's like Tetris. Everything falls into place, and you're gonna go towards your value. That's gonna make everything so much easier. And then you're just like, poof, or you literally are this butterfly that comes out of a cocoon. because now you're like, oh, you are really doing what you want to do. That's one. And another thing, I'm very, very, I also do a lot of mindfulness and, I teach mindfulness and also meditation. And one of the things that I really focus is how do you speak to yourself? Right? What do you tell yourself? So I remember years ago, I always consider myself a very optimistic person. I always look at the positive side. And I started meditating again. And I was doing an online meditation from Louis' house. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, Louis' house. It will come. Louise Hay. Louise Hay. I love her. She's amazing. And it was about how do you talk to yourself. And when I started listening to it, I started to cry because I just became aware of my thoughts. I was like, whoa, how am I talking to myself? You know, and this is also a reason why I started also this whole thing about self-love. I think self-love is very important. And really, if you love yourself and you want the best for yourself, you're gonna want to talk nice and kind to yourself. But a lot of us are not doing that. We're like, oh, I'm so ugly. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh, all this negative stuff. So if you see the conscious mind like the captain of a ship, right? A ship cannot function without its crew or a captain. So the conscious mind is a captain and the unconscious mind is the crew. If you only have the captain, you're not going to go anywhere. If you only have the crew, you're also not going to go anywhere, right? So you need that's working together, and it is what you say, captain, the words you're saying, that you give the orders to your unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind wants to follow orders, and they want to do it in the path of least resistance. So they want to do it very fast. And so if you tell yourself, I don't want to get sick again, right? I don't want to get sick again. I don't want to get sick again. Or I don't want, if you have a cup of water and it's full and you're like, I don't want to spill the water or the coffee or the tea you're drinking. What your unconscious mind is hearing is, I want to spill this water or tea or coffee, or I want to get sick. So this is why words are so powerful. So I always tell my clients, instead of saying, I don't want to get sick, tell yourself, I am healing. Because you're automatically sending that sign to your body and to your cells.
Yeah, really cool.
So that's
and I see the way you saw the captain and the ship. Usually, me, I talk about an elephant, and you're the driver of the elephant, and you're the conscious part, the logical part, and you have the elephant with the unconscious part, which doesn't understand the language. So you have to direct him, and if he's afraid, even if you tell him that he shouldn't be afraid, he goes. And and as you were saying, the negative not word doesn't, and I will go back on that because it's a very, very interesting notion, and I think it's so powerful that people don't understand it. So we'll try to clarify it right afterwards. But for now, Heike has another question, which was saying,
right.
How do you know whether you are speaking with the unconscious mind of your client? Is it the amount of time they have to answer? The quicker, the less time to think?
No, there. I've done a lot of courses on this. I can't answer it to you in one sentence. I've done a lot of training on that, and it's very it's interesting. I can't say one exact thing. Most of the time, I know it because the client says it, right? And it's at that moment that you stop thinking. And the thing about it is, I have techniques that I've learned in all my trainings to access the unconscious mind. So if you don't know the techniques, it's not that easy. I mean, you can do it with hypnosis as well, but I mean, Jeremy, you do hypnosis, you're trained to that, right? It takes time to get trained. It takes time to get there. So we can also have a chat. You have to follow some sort of certified course or something, because it's not it's like anything. Even if you want to speak a new language, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
This is
yeah, totally. I think it takes time. And to answer your question, Aika, from my point of view, I would say that Now it's called active listening as well, and it's like something you develop by listening to every word someone is saying and how they're saying it and how their body is moving when they're saying it. So it's so many details you have to check to see if it was aligned, if they were with their elephant and they were talking right, or if they was biased and they tried to hide something. So you can actually feel it sometimes, and so Samaria is trained for it, and to check in which word something happened and where to make the breakthrough. And this is how she spots it as well, through communication, through interaction and connection with your client, of course. And then the amount of time to answer is a good cue. And you know, sometimes that some people you ask them something and they answer too quickly. It means that they haven't even thought about what you were saying, and so they were like on automatic communication. And then the other question you were saying, Eike, I think I don't know if you agree with me, Sami, but I think the two channels of conscious and unconscious are always open. And even if we want to separate them and maybe to talk only to logical people, they have their unconscious working, and so the two channels are always open. And maybe with hypnosis you can shut down one and talk more with another one. But what I mean is that what you were saying with the negative word is that if you say you shouldn't do this, it means that you send two messages all the time. Even if you say one sentence, you send one message to the unconscious and one message to the conscious. So logically, it understands that it shouldn't do this, but unconsciously, it's like this, and not do it. It doesn't make sense for it because it has to go through what it is. So that's basically, this is also how you create new solutions. You don't focus on something, but you look at every other aspect.
Definitely. And going back to words are so powerful. And also with the way we use words and the way we are going through life, can either take two roles, literally. We can take the role of always being the victim. Oh, this happened to me because my father was this way, because I was born, and we tell this narrative to ourselves. So we, in a way, are holding ourselves back, right? Or we could say, okay, I am responsible for what happened to me. And when I say that to people, some people might get angry, like, wait, this happened to me and that happened to me. Right. The thing is that a lot of the times we are so unaware of what we're telling ourselves that words become actions. We act upon these words, and then we're suddenly in the situation, right? Extreme example would be staying in a toxic relationship. Of course, if you stay in a toxic relationship for a long time, there will be a lot of self-esteem issues. You become very passive. However, the key is that you could have stopped it way before, right? So, for example, I also do a lot of work with toxic relationships, and it's beautiful in the sense that when we are young, or whatever you may come from, maybe you didn't get the tools. And I do everything out of love, right? You shouldn't really get angry at your parents, because I believe that even if they, in your eyes, have done something wrong, I really believe that maybe they didn't have the tools that we now have. So either have an option to say, okay, I'm going to break through even this toxic patterns, right? Because maybe you didn't know how to set boundaries, learning to say no is also important. So talking about the word no, it's becoming conscious of when you use certain words, right? But is another word that I use it very consciously, because the moment you say but, you take everything that I said before that and you threw it away. So there's so many things that through words we can really become empowered. We can hold ourselves back, and it's up to us. Life is very simple. We tend to make it hard. And when we look at breakthrough sessions, you're really breaking through all these patterns. You are getting new tools, and you're really achieving what you have to do, you want to do. keep in mind that one of the things that I really also focus is taking action, right? So you go to the breakthrough session, that's amazing. You still have to work for it, right? You still have to take action, like anything in life. Especially in self-development, you see a lot of the things that we call shelf development. We buy the book, we get the course, and then we put it away in the shelf, right? So I I not only use a lot of NLP techniques, I use a lot of mindfulness and meditation because I really believe in calming down this chit chat that we have, right? Through meditation. I used to meditate when I was very young, and then I stopped, and I got my burnout, and then I took again, I started meditating, and I remember that when I started meditating again, it was like 1 minute, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I felt foolish, my dialogue that I was telling myself, and I was doing a mantra in Japanese. I do not speak Japanese. So I kept on doing it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then I remember one time very clearly, I was at home and then suddenly, like this chit chat that was always on, quiet. I was like, whoa, what is this? That kept on becoming my normal. And now it's just completely quiet. When it starts chit-chatting, I know what to do. So with self-development, I always think that it's every day. It's not Monday through Friday, it's Monday through Monday. And my approach is a very practical approach, right? Because some of us don't have the time to do yoga for an hour and a half or meditate for an hour and a half. Hey, you have that? Great. So everything that I do it very practical, very pragmatic, because that's also how I am. I'm very goal oriented. I have my own business. I like to do a lot of things. And it's for this modern world that we're in. We are not in a monastery in the Himalayas, with a nice meditating clothes. We are here. I'm in Amsterdam and I meditate. So I teach you also the tools so that you can apply these techniques on a daily basis and that the results are even stronger in the long time. So it is a combination of the mind-body connection again.
Yeah. And to learn every day, to change every day, because the thing is we need to adapt. And maybe I was thinking maybe you could give a few practical things to people to get out of their comfort zone. Would you have any tips you could give them to keep on challenging themselves?
Well, I think actually what has happened right now in this pandemic, I think a lot of people were forced to be out of their comfort zone.
Yeah,
Why?
very true.
Because a lot of people, we are very used to looking for distractions, right? Because the moment we stay still, the moment we just turn the external noise off, we are confronted with ourselves, with our thoughts, with our emotions, right? And you see that when you start meditating, it's like, now, because of the pandemic, people were forced to stay at home, and you saw a lot of people like, what to do, right? One of the things that I always say is that take a minute, take 1 minute, start with 1 minute, 1 minute every day, and just sit there and just observe what happens. What are you thinking? Observe your body. Start breathing. Are you actually breathing? Most of us don't breathe. Most of us are just, of course, we are breathing because if we did not breathe, we would not be in this world. But most of us, we're breathing very superficial. And when we have anxiety or stress, we are breathing here. And just the moment that you start breathing to your belly button, you are automatically activating the nervous system that I like to call it the chill nervous system, the Zen nervous system. That just by breathing, you're going to become calm. So you get out of your comfort zone. What about not turning on your telephone the first thing you do in the morning? Not going to bed with your telephone on, right?
Yeah.
We are so addicted to the telephones. My telephone is mostly always on silent. I only get notifications from WhatsApp because that's how I work with my clients. Everything else, people know me. Like, if you send me a message through Facebook, it takes me a while to answer, right?
Yeah.
So getting out of your comfort zone, I would say Start with 1 minute just sitting there and just observing yourself, getting in contact with yourself. Start there, and then we can continue after that. But that's already something.
What I love as well is that you made it something I just understood as well is that for burnouts we talk about not wait to the last moment and listen to your mind body connection. And what you just made me realize is that actually breathing is communicating. And we're talking about like the words influence your body and your behavior, but your breathing also influences, and the way your body is also influences. There are so many factors that are invisible, that are automatic, that we do every day, and that what you were talking about just before as well, making aware of people's chit chat. I think that's so interesting because when you take a moment and you listen to yourself, you listen to the chit chat, then you start becoming the sound engineering of do I like that voice? Do I want to say that in the morning? Do I want to say that in the night when I go to sleep? And then you get the control, and then you get what you want from your communication because you understand the mechanism. And I want to say hi to Asgarpur and thanks for the follow. He was asking, having a positive mindset definitely facilitates reaching success, happiness, but shouldn't be realistic that 50% or X% of our lives are not fully in our hands. We can influence part of our lives, and the remaining we can only hope for the best. So this is basically about control. And maybe do you have some clients as well, or maybe controlling? And do you have some tips
A lot of
about that?
people are very afraid of losing control, right? A lot of people want to have control. So you see a lot of addictions come because of that, right? We want to have control of everything. Or anxiety or stress, the moment there's no control, we want to eat or want to drink or take drugs because it's out of control. So the reason why I really believe the change should start within, is that you have to start to get to know yourself. And let me tell you, a lot of people, I'm going to dare to say a lot of women more than men, really focus on wanting to change everybody else, right? The moment you start realizing that changing yourself takes time, one of my mentors said to me, personal development is not a present. You have to work for it, right? So once you go inside and you realize that it's challenging to sit there for a minute, right? And what is key is that you can only control your thoughts and your actions. And what I also teach, like a lot of mindfulness techniques, I'll call them that way, because you want to learn how to go with the flow, right? One of the examples we use in mindfulness is that imagine that you are at the beach and you have your two hands like this. So you're like this and the waves are coming. Can you stop all the waves from coming just with your two bare hands? Possibly not. It's going to take a lot of energy. You're going to get very disappointed. You're going to get very frustrated. And that's what most of the people tend to do. They want to have control of everything in life. Look, I am someone that will say to you, life is life. I do not believe, again, that life is pink, full of unicorns. Life has its ups and its downs. And it's when the shit hits the fan that people get really stressed, right? So it's about learning how to deal with those low moments, with the moments where you have all this sudden change. So when you learn to realize that you are in control of your thoughts, you're in control of your actions, you're also in control of your emotions, that's going to suddenly open up the world to you. That's going to allow you to say, okay, I'm not going to stop and all the waves from coming, but I can get my surfboard and then start to ride the waves and go with the flow. Becoming conscious of where you want to go. That's another thing. A lot of people go through life oblivious again, and then they're there, they get the midlife crisis, or all these things happen because they've been doing things without realizing who they're doing it for. So it's about starting to know yourself. Why am I doing this for? What am I saying to myself? I can change my emotions, And this is the balance. Life is all about balance. You have the yin and the yang, right? There's no light without darkness. So when we look at emotions, you have always a choice. We all have negative emotions. We all have like this negative dark side to us, right? The dark force, you might call it. We also have this amazing, powerful, magnificent light and empowering light, right? It's about recognizing both sides, acknowledging the sides that might not bring you further, saying thank you, choosing the side that's going to bring you further. Saying that, I think it's very important to also recognize when we are sad, right? If you want to cry, cry. Now, here's the difference. You have a choice about how long you want to feel sad about something. You can feel sad about something for a couple hours, a day, maybe a week. When you take that and you make it a month, years, decades, a lifetime, and I meet people, they're like, oh, they're so grumpy or they're so sad because something that happened to them 30 years ago. I'm thinking, why are you holding on to this? So that's where we have control. That's where we can say, okay, I'm going to do something about this, take care of it, and it's gone. A very famous Chinese philosopher said, Lao Tzu, he said, people that live in the past have depression. People that live in the future have anxiety. So it's better to live here in the present, right? So when you're in the present moment, you're really going with what's happening. And another thing is learning to respond instead of react. A lot of us, because we're so unconscious about ourselves, we're just repeating what we heard from our family or from our culture. We're just reacting. Something happens and, emotionally reacting. Taking that moment to breathe, to ground yourself, to say, okay, what can I do in this situation? Sometimes it's best to do nothing. A lot of times we want to say something, or sometimes just by taking that moment and just like, okay, let me calm myself down. Let me not react to my emotions, but let me respond consciously. It's a huge difference. So going back to the question is, again, this. Of course, we do have control of our thoughts, our emotions, and you cannot control not even what your partner does or your family or anybody else around you, right? But you have a world inside of you that you can control. That is precious. So there you can start.
And I think that people, sorry, I think people may have had some breakthroughs during the show because I had some as well, and I think that you were talking about it, like when you understand it, when it's invisible, you don't know how to look at it. So when you find a way to change your perspective, then you will have a way to have a grasp on it, and then you will be able to respond and not react, as you were saying. That was so cool, this interview. Really happy that we shared this moment. I think I have a last question for you about some content you can share with us, and some website, TV shows you would like to share. And I want to thank you, everyone that has been here, for the follows and for the question. It was very cool. If you want, you can contact Sami for half an hour free like breakthrough session, and see with her if you want to work on something personal. And next week as well, we'll talk more in the Jedi classroom. So no dark force here because we're the Jedis, So in the Jedi classroom, we'll be talking about inside the brain and these mechanisms and how you can become an expert. And so maybe there will be some other breakthrough. Thank you again. And what content? What are there some website? Some things you?
Well, actually, I'm not. I didn't realize I had to have a website ready. What I do have is I have 2 quotes that I would like to read to you.
Okay, perfect.
Because I'm always reading, and one of the books that I really have by my bedside always is this one is called the Things You Can See Only When You Slow Down. And it's also about that. Sometimes we go through life just go, and we need to slow down, right? We need to to slow down. So I got two quotes, and the first one, it's you have to remember that
we can't.
we are all human beings, we all have emotions, and we all go through hardships in life. And just because one person went through that hardship does not make it better, right? We also have to be compassionate about that. And this is it's the end of a phrase, but I will read it. It says, no matter how famous or beautiful one is, no matter how much money or power one has, no matter how many wonderful accomplishments one has had, we all have our share of setbacks, heartbreaks, and loss. We have to face challenges we have no control over. Loneliness and the fear of death will accompany us to our final days. Everyone is on the same treacherous journey of life's tainted glory. So I love you, you who shyly stood before me, murmuring softly that you are ordinary, offering the warm bottle of your heart. What this says is that we have to remember that we have days where we're just like, you can't get through them. And becoming conscious of what's holding you back makes such a huge difference. And the last one that I want to say is this is one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, which is interesting because I've seen this quote so many places, and until this book, I realized that it was by him. And here we go. Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny.
Super.
That was it. And that's
Super.
the power of words.
Yeah, very cool, and a very good reading and stuff. Thank you. I think we have had a really inspiring talk. Thank you, Aika, again. She wrote a little hello and thank you in the chat. So thank you guys for being here. I wanted to say a last word to Samaria, of course. Thank you, and also. Sometimes it's hard to know how to start and how to make the first step. And you were talking also about self-love, and I've seen that with these connected Zooms that we can't be together, but I saw that there is new notion about self-hugs. So we wish you a lot of self-hugs to hold and have a really cool evening. Thank you for being here, and really good evening. Cheers. Bye bye. Thank you, Samaria.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Et voilà, merci à tous d'avoir été là pendant l'interview. On repasse en français. Thank you everyone. Thank you Samaria. C'était très intéressant. Vraiment, voilà, de voir un petit peu comment elle accompagne les gens au travers de ces breakthrough sessions, de ces changements rapides. Comme on disait, le cerveau, c'est une machine merveilleuse et il apprend très vite. Il sait quoi faire quand on lui donne les bons outils, les bons moyens. Et c'est ce dont on parlera la semaine prochaine, mardi à 11h dans la Jedi Classroom numéro 11. Mais demain, on se retrouve à 20h avec Marie Bapt, qui nous parlera de rituels sortilèges et magiques et qui nous donnera des façons de sortir de sa zone de contrôle et de réapprendre à fonctionner différemment. Donc on est vraiment dans la semaine du changement et effectivement la situation, comme le disait Samaria, nous force à nous adapter et à changer. Donc on est là dans l'émission en tout cas pour en discuter avec vous et vous donner les bons outils pour y arriver. Moi je vous souhaite une très bonne soirée et puis on se retrouve demain à 20h. Ciao.